In the final days, the group finds themselves pushed to the very edge of endurance. Their bodies are lean, almost skeletal, the sun having etched its mark deep into their skin. Clothes hang in tatters, mere shadows of what they once were, and their hands are rough, marked with cuts and blisters, a testament to the countless hours spent casting nets, hauling lines, and wrestling with the harshness of the open sea. Every day is a repetition of the last, yet each feels harder than the one before. They wake before dawn, the first grey light barely visible on the horizon. Hunger gnaws at them, a constant companion. Meals are sparse, whatever meager catch the ocean yields, divided among many. Sometimes it's just a handful of fish, sometimes less. They chew slowly, savoring every bite, trying to stretch each mouthful as far as it will go. There are no luxuries here, no room for waste. Every scrap of food is precious. Water, too, is a challenge. The salty spray of the ocean offers no relief to parched throats, and so they have become ingenious. When the rain falls, as it does on rare, blessed occasions, they scramble to collect it, using bottles cut in half, scraps of plastic, anything that will hold even a little of the life-giving liquid. They ration it carefully, each person taking only what is absolutely necessary, knowing that the next rainfall is never guaranteed. The physical toll is immense. Muscles ache, bones protest, and every movement is a reminder of how much their bodies have endured. But it is the mental challenge that looms largest. As the days drag on, the struggle shifts. Survival, they realize, is not just about battling the elements, about fighting hunger and thirst. The real battle is internal. Each person is confronted not just with the vastness of the ocean, but with the vastness of their own mind. Doubt creeps in, quiet but persistent. There are moments of despair when the horizon seems endless and escape impossible. Tempers flare, patience frays, and the smallest irritation threaten to become unmanageable. It is in these moments that the group must dig deepest. They learn to support one another, to offer a word of encouragement or a gesture of solidarity that, though small, makes all the difference. The days are long, marked by the relentless rhythm of the waves and the punishing glare of the sun. But in the quiet moments, as the sky shifts from blue to gold to the inky purple of night, reflection takes hold. They think of the lives they left behind, of comforts once taken for granted, a warm meal, a soft bed, the sound of laughter in familiar places. These memories are bittersweet. They fuel both longing and determination. Gradually, something shifts within the group. Where once there was only exhaustion and fear, now there is a sense of clarity. They come to understand that survival is not about conquering the sea, but about mastering themselves. It is about finding strength in vulnerability, about recognizing the limits of their bodies and the boundlessness of their spirits. The tests of endurance and willpower have revealed not just weaknesses, but also unexpected reservoirs of resilience. In the face of adversity, they discover a new kind of camaraderie. The hardships have forged bonds that are unbreakable. They share stories, hopes, and fears, finding comfort in the simple act of being heard. Laughter, though rare, becomes a precious gift, a momentary escape from the relentless demands of survival. Each person brings something unique to the group, a skill, a joke, a quiet word of wisdom. Together, they are stronger than the sum of their parts. As the days blend into one another, the world shrinks to the size of their small boat and the endless sea. Time loses its usual meaning. There are only the essentials: food, water, shelter, and each other. They learn to let go of distractions, to focus on what truly matters. In this stripped-down existence, they find unexpected beauty. In the play of light on the water, in the flight of birds overhead, in the simple satisfaction of surviving another day. Finally, after what feels like a lifetime, the outline of land appears on the horizon. At first, it seems a mirage, a trick of the eye. But as the hours pass, the certainty grows. The coast is real. Solid ground. A return to the world they once knew. Relief floods through them. Mingled with disbelief, they have made it. Against all odds, they have survived. The journey back to shore is quiet, almost reverent. No one speaks much. There is nothing left to say. Each person is lost in their own thoughts, processing the enormity of what they have endured. When the boat finally scrapes against the sand, there is a moment of hesitation. Stepping onto solid ground feels almost foreign, as if they are leaving behind not just the sea, but a part of themselves. They have returned, but they are not the same people who set out. The hardships have left their mark, not just on their bodies, but on their souls. They are thinner, tougher, their eyes carrying the weight of all they have seen. Yet there is something else there too, a quiet strength, a sense of peace that comes from having faced the worst and emerged on the other side. In the days and weeks that follow, life resumes its usual pace. The comforts of civilization are once again within reach. Yet nothing is quite as it was before. The food tastes richer, the air feels sweeter, and every small pleasure is savored. They carry with them the lessons of the sea, the knowledge that true survival is as much about the mind as the body, that the greatest battles are often fought within, and that the bond forged in adversity are among the strongest of all. They are more than survivors. They are changed, humbled, grateful, and deeply aware of their own resilience. The memory of those difficult days will linger, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, hope endures, and the human spirit is capable of extraordinary things. As the group sets out on the small fishing boat, the vastness of the sea surrounds them, swallowing up every trace of land and comfort they once knew. Their supplies are sparse, only the simplest tools, a finite amount of water, and an unspoken pact to endure whatever the ocean brings. The first day is deceivingly gentle. Sunlight dances on the waves, and optimism fills the air as nets are cast and lines are baited. Yet, as hours pass and the bucket remains empty, hope begins to wane. Hunger quietly settles in, and the precious water is rationed with care. Each passing moment stretches longer, the gentle rocking of the boat replaced by the gnawing uncertainty of survival. The sea, endless and silent, offers no answers, only the promise of another day, and the challenge of finding sustenance in its mysterious depths. Hunger gnaws relentlessly, becoming an inescapable presence that shadows every waking moment. The group, once buoyed by hope and adrenaline, now finds itself driven by primal necessity. Their stomachs rumble, echoing the emptiness that has begun to settle deep within. It is only the third day, yet already the body protests, muscles aching, minds foggy from the lack of sustenance. Desperation breeds creativity. Some wade into the shallows, hands probing the cool, briny water in search of anything edible. They move slowly, eyes straining to spot the darting shapes of fish or the subtle movement of a crab hiding among the rocks. The water chills their skin, but the promise of even a mouthful of food keeps them going. Each attempt is a test of patience and luck. Fingers slip on algae-slick stones, and more than once a potential meal wriggles free, escaping into the safety of the deeper waters. Others turn their attention to the shoreline, combing through the sand and tide pools for shell or edible seaweed. They learn quickly, identifying which varieties are safe to eat and which must be left alone. The taste is briny and unfamiliar, but it is food, and that is all that matters now. Every find, no matter how small, is greeted with a mixture of relief and triumph. Resourcefulness becomes the group's greatest asset. With nothing but a worn t-shirt and bits of cord salvaged from their belongings, they set to work crafting a makeshift trap. The process is slow and awkward, hands trembling as hunger saps their strength. Yet determination pushes them forward. They tie knots with care, fashioning a net that they hope will ensnare something, anything, that can be eaten. When the trap is finally set, they watch with anxious anticipation, eyes fixed on the shifting water. Hours pass. The sun climbs high, its heat beating down on their exposed skin. Fatigue settles like a weight on their shoulders, yet still they wait, hope flickering with every ripple in the water. Finally, a shout pierces the quiet. The trap has caught a fish, small but glistening in the sunlight. It is a meager prize, but in this moment, it feels like a feast. Celebration erupts among the group, laughter and cheers mingling with the salty breeze. The fish, their hard-won bounty, is prepared with care. Without proper utensils, they improvise, cleaning and gutting it with whatever sharp objects they can find. For cooking, they gather driftwood and scraps, managing to coax a small flame atop an old, rusted can they discovered among the debris. The fire is smoky and temperamental, but it does the job. As the fish cooks, its scent fills the air, tantalizing and nearly unbearable in its promise. They gather around the makeshift stove, eyes wide and mouths watering. When at last it is ready, they divide it equally, each person receiving a precious morsel. The taste, simple and unseasoned, is the most delicious thing any of them can remember. For a brief, shining moment, the hunger is forgotten. Spirits rise, smiles reappear, and hope returns to eyes dulled by fatigue. Yet the reprieve is short-lived. The fish, though nourishing, is barely enough to take the edge off their hunger. The body, already weakened, feels the strain. Muscles cramp, skin grows clammy, and one member of the group suddenly doubles over in pain. The others rush to help, supporting their friend as he grimaces, his legs seizing painfully. They know the signs: dehydration, lack of salt, and the toll of starvation. Worry settles over them like a shadow, the reality of their situation impossible to ignore. They do what they can, massaging cramped muscles, offering sips of water, sharing the last scraps of food. The group's dynamic shifts as survival becomes a collective effort, each person looking out for the others. Even as exhaustion tugs at their limbs, they keep watch for signs of worsening illness, knowing that every decision they make could be the difference between life and death. As night falls, the world settles into an uneasy quiet. The initial surge of adrenaline that carried them through the first days has faded, replaced by a grim determination. They huddle together for warmth, drawing comfort from shared body heat and the knowledge that they are not alone in their struggle. Sleep comes fitfully, interrupted by hunger pains and the ever-present anxiety of their predicament. Dreams are filled with memories of home, of full plates, soft beds, and laughter. Each awakening is a rude reminder of the harsh reality they now face. Morning brings little relief. The sun rises on another day of uncertainty, painting the sky with colors they barely notice. Their bodies are weaker, movements slower, but they press on. The cycle repeats, searching for food, tending to each other, and holding on to hope with every ounce of strength they have left. Through it all, a sense of unity grows. Hardship forges bonds that cannot be broken. And as the days stretch on, the group learns to trust and depend on one another. They share stories to keep spirits up, recall happier times, and make quiet promises to see each other through this ordeal. The struggle for survival is relentless, but so is their will to live. With each new challenge, they adapt, drawing resourcefulness from desperation and courage from fear. The memory of that small fish, caught, cooked, and shared, becomes a symbol of their resilience, a reminder that even in the bleakest moments, there is hope to be found. As the third day ends, the group faces the unknown with a mixture of dread and determination. They know the road ahead will not be easy, that hunger will return and hardship will persist. But together, they face the darkness, clinging to the belief that tomorrow might bring another miracle. A sign that rescue is near, or another chance to survive. And as the stars appear overhead, they whisper silent prayers for strength, for endurance, and for one more day. The storm had arrived without warning, sweeping across the horizon with a ferocity that turned the sky black and the sea into a churning, living thing. As the first drops of rain fell, they seemed harmless. Cool pinpricks on sunburned skin, a brief relief from the relentless heat of the day. But in moments, the wind picked up, howling through the rigging, lashing the small boat with sheets of rain so dense it was impossible to see more than a few feet ahead. Thunder boomed overhead, rattling the bones of everyone aboard, and bolts of lightning danced across the sky in jagged, violent streaks. The ocean rose in answer, waves heaving and crashing against the hull, their white crests illuminated in the storm's wild light. The group scrambled to secure what little they could, hands slipping on soaked ropes, voices lost in the roar of wind and water. The boat pitched dangerously, each crest threatening to send them over, each trough revealing for a split second the terrifying depth of the sea. Tools clattered across the deck, sliding into the darkness. A net, hurriedly tied down, tore loose and disappeared into the sea. A wooden crate, half filled with precious supplies, was wrenched away by a rogue wave, its contents scattering into the foam. Panic fluttered in every heartbeat, a frantic rhythm beneath the chaos. Suddenly, a shout cut through the tumult. A body, silhouetted against a flash of lightning, tumbled over the side. There was a moment of frozen disbelief, then frantic motion. "He's gone!" someone cried. But even as the words came, the figure surfaced, gasping, hands clawing at the side of the boat. With desperate urgency, the group reached out, grasping cold, slippery arms, hauling their companion back aboard. For a moment, all there was to the world was the sound of coughing, of retching seawater, of the storm closing in around them. Everything was soaked. Clothes, blankets, what little food remained. The cold seeped into their bones, relentless and inescapable. They huddled together beneath a battered tarpaulin, Shivering, their bodies pressed tight for warmth. The storm raged on, hour after hour. The darkness absolute, broken only by the sporadic glare of lightning. There was no sleep, only a kind of weary, exhausted waiting, each person lost in their own private fears, of sinking, of freezing, of never seeing land again. At last, as suddenly as it had come, the storm began to abate. The wind died to a whimper, the rain eased to a fine mist, and the waves, though still heaving, lost some of their anger. The sky lightened, first to a murky grey, then to the pale hue of dawn. The group emerged from beneath the tarp, blinking, aching, their faces etched with relief and exhaustion. The boat was battered, supplies scattered, but they had survived. As they took stock of their losses, someone noticed the net, still trailing over the side. Miraculously, it had trapped something during the storm. A shape, dark and motionless, tangled in the mesh. With cautious curiosity, they hauled it aboard. At first, it seemed like any other catch, just another fish caught by chance. But as they examined it, unease spread through the group. This was no ordinary fish. Its skin was slick and iridescent, shimmering in colors that seemed almost unnatural. Purples and greens and deep, impossible blues. Its eyes were large and black, set too far apart, with a gaze that seemed to look through them rather than at them. Fins jutted from its body at odd angles, and its mouth was lined with tiny, needle-sharp teeth. The creature was unlike anything they had ever seen. Alien, otherworldly, a visitor from the depths. Hunger gnawed at their bellies, sharper now for the exhaustion of the night. Their supplies had been washed away, and the few scraps that remained were sodden and spoiled. They gathered around the strange fish, the question unspoken but urgent. Could they eat it? Should they? No one knew what it was, or whether it was safe, but the ache in their stomachs was impossible to ignore, and the memory of the storm, of how close they had come to disaster, pressed in on them. They debated in hushed voices, weighing risk against need. Some argued caution, pointing to the creature's uncanny appearance, to the stories they remembered from childhood about poisonous fish and the dangers of the unknown. Others insisted they had no choice. Survival now was everything. The longer they waited, the weaker they would become. In the end, necessity won out. With shaking hands, they cleaned the fish as best they could, slicing through its unearthly flesh, discarding the organs, rinsing the fillets in seawater. The meat was pale and slightly luminescent, a cold glow that lingered even in the growing light of day. They divided it into cautious portions, each person taking only what they needed, wary of eating too much. The taste was strange, briny, almost metallic, with a texture that was both firm and yielding. It filled their mouths with an unfamiliar sensation, a tingling that prickled on their tongues and lingered at the back of their throats. But as they ate, the hunger receded, replaced by a slow, spreading warmth. Energy returned to tired limbs, the shivers faded, and for the first time since the storm began, they felt a fragile hope. In the silence that followed, as the sea continued to calm and the sun rose higher, the group sat together, watching the horizon. The memory of the storm lingered, its terror, its violence. But so too did the sense of survival. They had faced the unknown and endured. The strange fish, whatever it was, had given them another chance. And as they looked out at the vast, endless ocean, they knew that whatever came next, they would face it together. Strangers no longer, but survivors bound by a storm, a night, and the taste of something wholly new.